Please like and subscribe to the Couch and the Rube YouTube channel. Also download podcast episodes wherever you get your podcasts. For sponsorship opportunities, email Jason at couchandtherube.com.
What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, our Friday afternoon show presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Bet the NBA playoffs this weekend. Bet the Tigers. Do it responsibly, but have some fun. They've got an upgraded app that if you haven't given it a try lately, you're going to love the user experience. Or just head down to Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook off I-94 in Battle Creek. An incredible experience there. You got the dining giveaways there, the casino, the entire casino floor at your fingertips, and, of course, Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook right there, the Vegas experience right here in Michigan. Our Friday show also presented by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar, just north of Frandor on East Saginaw near the Lansing-East Lansing border. The original Couch and the Rube sponsor, an incredible place to watch games, for a date night, for a lunch. I steer people there all the time, and they've never steered anybody wrong. Always get compliments. And if you like a sushi bowl, the Big Island Bowl, my absolute favorite thing at Front 43 and Cask and Company. Jason, how you doing, brother?
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
The urinal or portal. What's going on, buddy? You all right?
Yeah, doing all right.
Yeah. Still a dad?
Still a dad. Yeah.
Getting some sleep and all that.
Yeah, this morning was a little hectic, but all good. Just missed time some sleeping stuff where we were trying to do it in shifts, and but it's all good.
Yeah.
Big blowout diaper just before I came.
Man.
Yep, all good. So
yeah.
It was.
See, I'd be like Tyreek Hill. I just never changed my kid's diaper of one of my 9 kids.
Yeah, it's not good.
That's the thing. Can you even approach your wife with that? Like, listen, if I just cannot change a diaper, it'd be awesome.
I wouldn't even know how to begin that conversation like that. I wouldn't know where to. Hey, Elizabeth, I got one here. Let's. Yeah, no. And the funny thing is, I am not grossed out by anything she does, which is amazing. I thought I would be. Like, today's diaper was the worst I've changed, and I am not.
People are eating lunch.
Sorry. Yeah.
What did it look like?
I'm not going to describe it for the
Chicken
lunch
gyro
at
Jimmy John's? Is that what it looked like?
Not going to describe
open it up.
Not going to describe it for people.
Jesus.
But no, she was not.
Every day, every show from here on out, we're going to talk about this.
I
open the show.
Yeah, we'll get over it. They're like,
how was Cora's diaper today, Graham?
Seems like a sponsor segment waiting to happen.
Buy Pampers.
Waiting to happen.
Oh, yeah. We'd have to watch our language and stuff. So.
Still a joy, yeah.
I think it's because it's your child, I think, right? Because you're just like, okay, this is my kid. The crap doesn't bother me.
That's 100%. I don't know if, I've changed a few diapers before, but it's been a long time. I don't know if.
What? Whose diapers?
When I babysat in like high school.
Oh.
Yeah, I had to change some diapers.
Good Lord, you watch kids that small?
This is the worst babysitting assignment I ever had, and this is awful. When I was 13 years old, my very first assignment, and it was negotiated by my mother with somebody that she worked with at Lansing Community College. I babysat a 3-year-old, which is like terrible twos times, they're unreasonable, they're hard, a 3-year-old and a 10-month-old together.
Oh my God.
At age 13, where I had no business doing it, for $2 an hour.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And
those parents didn't care about those kids.
And I get this was the 90s, but come on. That was
13-year-old couch comes over like, all right, hey, we haven't had a night out in a while. We're going to risk it all.
It was like I can't remember, it was every day a week, but it was like 4 hours a day. It was brutal. Yeah. I still ride my
What'd you do with your $8?
I think I went to was it JT Burpees or whatever was over by our house on the west side neighborhood. Yeah, no, that was rough. So I learned real quick how to change a diaper, but also that was a disaster.
Yeah.
So
that's what helped with me to not want to have kids, because my sisters are like 15 and 17 years younger than I am, because my dad remarried, so they're half sisters. So I got to live. I saw my sister Kelsey, and then her loaded diaper that I refused to change. And then my stepmom came home and was so furious with me that I didn't change it and forced me to change. I was so disgusted. I'm like, I'm never having one of these. And then my sister Rachel, she was just a terror at 12 years old. Like, I was like, there's no way I'm having one of these things that can grow up and be so mean to you and angry. But I'm happy for you, though.
Yeah. Well, I tell my mother, you didn't get a grandchild till you were in your 70s because, you gave me that awful babysitting assignment when I was 13. It took me a long time to get over it. So there's that.
Love it.
Thanks for that. We will get into a few more parenting tales through the Groovy Donut Twitter questions shortly. Before we get to those, however, as we do every end of week show, what we are betting this weekend, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook app. Jason, are you betting anything this week?
I've already bet with the Zurich, so that team event that's usually the golf degenerates. You're supposed to take the Zurich off to kind of, let your family back into your life. Not me, not Norm and I. We want to sit there and grind some more, so I'm going to be sweating that this weekend. Possibly, I don't know, some Pistons. The Tigers are fun to bet on, but I don't know the Pistons. The numbers. Putting a single game parlay together for an NBA game is so frustrating and hard that it's not even worth it sometimes. Baseball, single game parlays are a little bit more fun, so maybe Tigers instead of the Pistons. Great bounce back game for the Pistons, by the way.
It was necessary.
And by the way, how do people gamble on the draft? Like, I saw some numbers from the draft. Like, I do, Michigan fan Jordan has that great contest that this guy Adam wins every year, because I don't know how he does it, but you know what I mean. But it's a great contest. But it's questions. He does like a 50-question thing that you have to kind of, but gambling on each selected pick is just wild. It blew my mind last night that people actually go to the draft. Like, that sea of people. I'm just sitting there just trying to comprehend. Like, why would you want to do on a Thursday night, even if you're a diehard Steelers?
There are a lot of paid plants there, though. The people cheering after every pick.
Yeah, the people that are way up close and in the nice seats. I'm saying in the sea, the mass of people. I'm like, I maybe this is like shows my age, but I just go, what if you got to use the bathroom? Like, you got to wade through all those people. And
when it was in Detroit, was it 2 years ago? Whenever there's zero interest.
But shout out to the NFL though for shortening the picks.
Yeah,
because I had some PTSD of when they showed before they went down to 8 minutes. They had like 15 minutes in between picks, and teams would stall. And the 6-hour draft. I remember 6-hour draft. That's just a grind, baby.
Yeah, no, I used to love though the Saturday Sunday setup. I don't know.
Yes,
it was better.
I miss a lot of things when I was younger. Yeah. Like I get it.
It was better.
We're never going back. We just have to be old guys.
Yeah, you can. I went a little on the draft on the number of offensive linemen taken in the first round. I think I had over 7.5 before that line got too juiced. The line was that
minus 210 at your guy at Panera.
No, but it was I was going to give it out when I went back to look at it last week. It had gone from, at one point it was like in the -1 something. It was juiced, but it was like -3 something to do it eventually. I think everybody knew it was going to happen, so they we
need Eric Schultz to run the numbers on the bets that you were going to give out, because I feel like it's up in the 90% like hit range.
I don't explain the ones that I was going to lose. That's
what fun is that?
Yeah, that's not. I was going to give you guys this, but it lost. So let's talk about that for a little while.
All the shitty picks that we gave last week.
I do have. It's a tough soccer weekend, but of course I will give out. I will do my best to give out what I sort of like.
Soccer is boring.
Oh, Cora, I know.
I kind of like, and this is not the most lucrative, sexy thing in the world, and there's a little bit of risk, and I apologize. But I do like, on the money line, Manchester City against Southampton in the FA Cup, with Liverpool on the money line against Crystal Palace in the Premier League play. The Crystal Palace-Liverpool game is 10 a.m. Saturday. At 12:15 Saturday in the FA Cup is Southampton, Manchester City. A little bit of juice with it. It's not... And I know Liverpool's been struggling. I just think Palace has got a huge game coming up in Conference League play. I think they're going to rotate a little. I think Liverpool at home is going to take care of them. And if you put 100 on it, it pays like 76. So it gives you, there's a little bit of juice, but it's not bad.
And you have to watch soccer.
I mean,
I guess you don't have to watch.
Or you can sleep through it like Cora. But so that would be my suggestion this weekend. Liverpool -210 money line, parlayed with Man City minus 505 money line. But together it's a good
minus 505.
Together it's like 130 minus 130. So it's not a bad.
All right.
It's not a bad little play. That would be my suggestion this weekend. That is what we're betting, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. You can always go down to Daisy's Taproom and Sportsbook as well. They've got some Saturday is the last day for this great RV giveaway they have. Head down to Firekeepers on I-94 in Battle Creek, or just download the app today and have it right at your fingertips. Anything before we dig into these groovy donut Twitter questions?
I don't think so.
All right, let's do it.
Yep. Eric Schultz up first. Huge for MSU to be bringing Anton Bonke in. From reading tea leaves, do you get the sense that they're done looking in the portal? And should they be?
Well, the late news was that Divine Ugochukwu is leaving. That happened right before the portal closed. And that doesn't mean you can't add somebody. That just means that you can't enter the portal. And Divine Ugochukwu was always the one who I think many people thought was most likely to leave if somebody left. You're just doing a numbers game. They're bringing in 2 freshman guards. If Kurt Tang's coming back, you've got Jordan Scott there. Jeremy Fears is coming back. Like, what's his role? Now, I think he would have played. I think he would have found. I mean, he was a valuable player last year. I don't think this was a necessary thing for him. I don't know that he'll make the right decision, but I do think he can probably find a place where there's a little more likely guaranteed playing time. But that doesn't mean for a guy who would have been a junior next year that this was the right move. I also was always the guy that I thought was most likely to go, and was, I'll be honest, a little surprised that he hadn't, but thought he was going to stay.
Yeah, it doesn't come as a shock.
No, not at all. And so, obviously, getting Anton Bonke is, and I believe that's how he pronounces his name.
Bonkers.
But getting a big man who, we'll get into him in a little bit with a couple of follow-up questions here, but they needed to get somebody who was, I think, Big Ten ready. Now, what he is in terms of how he raises MSU's ceiling, I don't know, but he'll be a guy who can play. There's no question about that. And I'll get into sort of the comparisons to guys they've had in a second. I don't know what this will mean losing Ugochukwu, because there's not a whole lot of minutes to be had. Now, when you start to look at the backup point guard situation, and you have Carlos Medlock Jr. behind Jeremy Fears Jr., if health prevails and neither one of those guys go down, all your minutes at point guard I think are gone. So how do you convince? This was the problem last year, and this is what happened with like a Denim Wojcik, and where that got a little messy is when all of a sudden Wojcik became the choice sometimes over Divine Ugochukwu. But like that is the challenge. Like in this day and age of recruiting guys, who wants to come in and say, hey, you may not have a place to play every night, but if something happens, boy, we'll need you. So I don't know if it'll be at that position. I think my sense is that they're more likely to, at this point, wait on the ruling whether fifth-year seniors can come back and play again, because that could matter big with a guy like Carson Cooper. And so
when are we going to find that out?
When you start, I think it'll happen by the end of May, certainly. I think in May they're going to vote on it.
Especially if you're Carson Cooper, you're sitting back, you're doing these interviews, you're tweeting out stuff. I feel like he's coming back.
They have to do it before the draft and the draft deadlines and all that stuff for these guys. And they're going to have some exemptions. And even the question will be whether those guys who just graduated are eligible to come back, or whether it's starting next year, and then what lawsuits could come from that. We'll see where all that goes. But my sense is right now, and this is, again, I've been off a little bit and not poking around as much as I will starting next week.
Start poking, man.
But my sense is they're probably done for the time being, and that Divine Ugochukwu was, while I think a player would have been valuable, somebody who's hard to convince somebody else like that to come back, if that makes sense.
Spartholomew next. General consensus seems to be the Anton Bonke edition is good, but there was no one we could have added to put us over the hump. What's the missing piece or pieces then? You can't say Cooper. And from Fat Fitzgerald. Bonke reactions? How we feeling, fellas? Could this be enough to put us over the hump, or possibly just another Elite Eight ceiling? And from Matt. From the film you've crushed, does Bonke match Cooper's ability?
So I've tried to watch a fair bit on him, and he's got, there's a little bit of Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler in him. I don't know that he does what either of them do best at their level. right? So, like, he's a guy who can stretch a floor and hit threes, and we've seen that. Will he be a dynamic three-point shooter for next year? I don't know. He's a guy who I think can play pick and rolls and get to the rim and finish and, has some post moves. And you saw those all at Charlotte. How that looks against, Big Ten competition.
I saw him against Temple. I mean, my God, I came away impressed.
You did.
I crushed tape against Temple.
Okay. You watched the whole Temple game? Is that what you're...
No, I crushed tape.
You crushed tape.
Short clips. Why would I have to watch the whole game? You mean I got to watch the whole thing? Jesus.
But no,
anyway. And I was sitting back there. I'm like, man, I can't wait to yell at this guy this season.
But he's a guy...
He's piss us off, I feel.
Took more than a three a game. Made about 34% of them. Does he have another level there? That's my sense from watching tape. Now, do I think he's done developing? No. When you look at what he did from now, he had 1 year at Providence and played, a little more sparingly. Started one game, played about 6-7 minutes a game, but that's the development course is not. It's not just because he went to Charlotte that all of a sudden he played a bigger role. The question is, what is his upside? What is his talent? I don't have a perfect sense of that yet. But I do think he was a good get. I do think he'll be a good fit. The question is ceiling. How much better does he make them? How close is he to what like Cooper and Kohler were providing last year? And that I don't have a perfect feel for yet. I'm curious to talk to the coaches about what they think. He was a guy I think they were very comfortable with, and I don't believe he was. I mean, they went after some other guys who they didn't get, but they liked him. And they liked him for a while, and so, I think it's a good get to the rest of the in terms of what they'll do now. I do think like in terms of whether it puts him over the hump, a lot of that will depend on what he is, but a lot of what the rest of the guys are around Michigan State. One of the mistakes I think we all sort of make is this idea that okay, you're looking at last year's team and maybe you're adding a piece here, but then like. What does that look like if you then add a center? Next year's team is going to be completely different. What is the level of Josiah Jervis? Like how much is he Gary Harris out of the gate, right? How much does Caleb Glenn add right away? What is the rotation? What are the minutes? What do the lineups look like? Does Jeremy Fears have another level he even takes? Can he do what Denzel Valentine did late in his career? And I think Fears was better than Valentine as a junior last year, but can Fears become what Valentine was as a senior, and that sort of thing? And he was very close. Is there another level for Fears? What does Jordan Scott look like? What does Cam Ward look like? What are these guys who often take jumps between freshman and sophomore year? The whole roster. So putting it on Bonke, like, does he put them over the hump? What I think he does at the bare minimum is he takes away a hole that I thought could be there. Now, to what degree, and is he good enough to defend the position at the level they need? I still think, we'll find out. Ethan Taylor, how ready is he? Could he be more ready than they want? It takes some pressure off him. What does Jesse McCullough look like next year if he has a healthy summer? There's a lot of questions there. But I don't know. We don't know if there's another piece that they really need. You can look at this roster and make a decent argument now that all the pieces are there if Bonke is ceiling-wise the level they need and if other guys develop the way they need to and everything fits. And there's a lot of really good players on the team. They're going to be a very, very good team. The question is, will they be a great elite team? And that we don't know.
People are nuts. I'm not nuts. They're nuts.
It's Bartholomew. Zero chance you pulled the Groovy Donuts half box trick with Elizabeth during her pregnancy. Yeah?
I did not, although I will say one of the joys of pregnancy is the certain stages, like the food cravings and the type of food you get, and you just dive.
Because you don't get judged anymore?
Yeah, because it's all her.
She's hammering food too?
I mean, I would leave here, and I would text her leaving the show, and see, can I bring you anything? And it would be like, yeah, I'll take this, I'll take that, Groovy Donuts, heck yeah, let's go, that sort of thing. And
Couch was like, yes.
Yeah, and I was all in. There were some periods where she went like through severe heartburn, is having, you needed more bland foods, or she didn't want to eat late, and that sucked for me. But for the most part, it was good. And again, the pregnancy was not about me. So whether
it's half about you,
whether you've got a pregnant wife or not, and you just want joy in your life, anytime, I'm telling you right now, the Groovy Donuts is here for you. The cherry cheesecake fritter, which only available in April. Marvelous. You should try it. Go to groovydonuts.com. They've also got Nutella truffles available this weekend. They're open Thursday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, and also in Williamston. Also throughout April, the salted caramel pecan old-fashioned donut. It's a myriad of joy. It's incredible. Get groovydonuts.com to place your order.
Alex James, I was convinced the Rube was heading back to jail and you were working to sign Chad Latz out of the portal as a fill-in co-host. I also heard rumors that you were dead and the Raccoon Graham had become the dominant personality. Anyways, congrats on the kid. You had us fooled.
The idea that Raccoon Graham could at some point become the dominant personality could happen.
Well, the idea we had you fooled. I mean, we really weren't trying to do that. We just kind of didn't have a show. And then I'm sitting there going, like, Couch, are you going to announce this or how are you going to,
So if you went back to jail, I mean, I don't know how we would handle that. We'd have to wait and see what the stint was, whether we get you out on bail. You could.
Dude, I'm not going.
I know.
Please, unless I hit a construction worker by accident or something. Man, all this construction, those guys are fucking hanging out there. I know it's like they have those signs like 15 years, you injure, kill a worker, and these fucking guys are hanging over the edge, like dangling off. I'm like, dude, what? Does that count? Does that count as 15 years if I end up clipping the guy? Like, he is technically hanging over the last remaining spot of the fucking highway that I have. I have to drive on a rumble strip, and this guy is just hanging over, his construction boot is like in my wheels. Like, is that 15 years? So I mean, that's the only way I could see me going back to jail if some shit like that happened. I mean, I'm a good boy now.
So I'd say it's then 50-50 that you're going back to jail based on that story. For quite a stretch.
I'm just saying, on the way in today, it's like it's all this construction down 127. I'm just saying, these guys are hanging all over the highway. It's like they're out there. It's like,
so let me ask you this: when you did your 72-day bit in the county jail back in the day.
By the way, 90 days, 72 days for good behavior. I was supposed to do 90. The judge wanted me to do.
Okay. If we'd been doing the show back then, like would have they allowed you, if we gave you like the remote equipment that I use on the road for the NCAA tournament, would have they allowed you to do the show?
No, they barely let you have your medication in there, let alone equipment like that. It would have been straight on payphone, and then they would have been like, "You have 10 minutes left in this call." It would have been great.
We need some of you to shorten your questions, I think, if we were doing that stuff.
Oh man. What a time to be alive. Marty Sparty, what's your opinion on the Lions taking Blake Miller with the first-round pick? I mean, I loved it. I don't know about you. I love the picks that you want. I don't necessarily Blake Miller because I'm not like so deep in the draft where I knew a lot of these guys, to be honest with you. But reading about Blake Miller, the guy's never missed a game. He's going to play right tackle, which means Sewell gets to move to left tackle, which they wanted to do. You can't complain about that.
No,
I wanted offensive lineman. Blake Miller, and reading everything about him makes me more excited. I want to run the ball again.
He seems like a decade plug-and-play guy in the right tackle, and that's.
But is it weird that I'm worried that he hasn't had an injury? Is that stupid?
No, I think
I saw that he hasn't. He's like, I don't even think I missed a game in middle school, and I'm like, is that bad? Because then he gets to the Lions, and then look what happens. But
nah, you want people who are just naturally durable, and there is that. You want that, and I agree. This was to me, I mean, I understand there were some other choices or whatnot, but this was. You didn't overthink it, and everything I had listened to and read that the Lions had been scouting tackles and offensive linemen more than anybody. So
it's so tough to read stuff, especially on Twitter, the pre-draft stuff, because none of it came true to what especially with what they thought the Lions were going to do and all the trading up that I heard about. It's just
you have to read. To me, this is where
Ross Dellinger.
No, you want to go to trusted team sources, because the guys who didn't get fooled are the Dave Burkett, the Colton Pounceys, the Nick Baumgartners, people who are listening to, who are inside that team more and know who's full of shit and aren't working for agents for that team or whatever, or aren't getting misled. This, I'm not saying there aren't some guys who do a really good job. I've listened to a few of them, and I think there are some who do a great job league wide, but they're trying to do the whole league. I think if you're curious about one team, finding the people you trust within that team is the best way to get a handle on it.
Marty Sparty, Jameel Gardner Jr. commits to MSU football. Should I be excited?
Yeah, receiver transfer. Small college guy. I don't.
So no.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not saying that. He's a Detroit guy originally, so he's coming home. Let me pull up his numbers here. So last year was 32 passes 483 yards, and the year before that it was like 12 catches. So I don't think he is an elite player, but can he be a contributor? Maybe. I don't. Excited is just. I wouldn't. Excited's a strong word. Okay. I just would stay away from excitement about MSU football for a little while.
I got to say, it's not the best sales pitch I've heard.
Yeah, I can't spin these at this point. It's been a while, and
as soon as I heard from a small school, I was like, "Yeah."
Well, the small school thing, I prefer. You just want a higher level of production there, or something.
You prefer
that shows
a smaller school in today's climate?
To some degree, well, if you're going to take somebody who's an elite receiver and overpay, or pay more than other people and get them, that's fine. But if you're getting somebody who's moving sideways, who is sort of I would rather have an elite receiver from a small school than somebody who's a number 3 at a big school. Yeah, because you don't know what they might become, and a lot of times guys get missed early, and this is their chance to move up now. I think about all the receivers I covered at Western Michigan, by the way, and I lived in Kalamazoo, and different guys in the MAC, and Krishan McCray was one of those guys. But like a lot of those guys could have been really good Big Ten receivers. And in fact, Jaden Reed, he was a great receiver as a freshman at Western Michigan. That was long after I was covering them. And then was a great receiver at Michigan State. Like those guys are, I think, but obviously Reed was great as a freshman already. Like that's ideal. This is not,
So you're saying he could be another Jaden Reed?
No, that's
all
not
right.
what
I'm excited now.
That's not what I'm saying. This is because this guy is much longer in his career and has not been
so I'm not excited.
Correct.
All right. Matt Salisbury, why are people so shocked that they went Blake Miller instead of Freeling? Miller is a right tackle, and it's easier than having a guy move, and he's more seasoned.
Yeah,
I don't.
That's mad?
Just people on Twitter.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? I didn't see any of that. Guess why? Because I didn't see any of it. Because I don't see it. Yeah. So if you want to, I'm not going to listen to Fawcett Liquor tell me that they should have drafted Freeling over Blake Miller. Now, like you mentioned earlier, if Baumgartner says it or Pouncey says it or something like that, I would be like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Right.
But that's just a lot of people,
So we'll try to have Baumgartner on next week because, he is, first of all, he's great with offensive lineman analysis, and he's also great with the Lions, he's great with the draft, great with football. He's a perfect guest for next week. And we'll get his sense of things. And, if he's a little more up or down, then I would trust that over most national guys because he really he evaluates those guys at a high level and he understands the Lions and what they need. And so that'll be good.
Anyone that I respect that I've read this morning and last night, they like the pick.
Yeah.
So, Salisbury, chances Carson Cooper gets the 5th year, and what does that do with Anton Bonke if he does get it?
Yeah, it's interesting. And MSU has less of a mess than a lot of places. Because one of the problems with the 5th year is, a lot of times you don't have room on your roster. Some of these guys will not have entered the portal, which technically it'll be too late to enter the portal. I think you should enter the portal if you're, and now I guess it's too late at this point. But if you were a 5th year guy who thought, boy, if I could come back, I'd like to come back, you should have entered the portal just in case they said, yes, you can play another year, and your coach said, we don't have room for you. You want to have someplace to go. But it's a good question. Everything. There are times I read things and I think, boy, I really think there's a better than 50-50 chance that 5th year seniors that this year's 4th year seniors are going to be allowed to be 5th year seniors next year, and that he has a chance to be back. And that Jackson Kohler, if would be in the same boat, and like these will be really interesting discussions and what that does for blocking development and what roster construction looks like. And it's going to be a problem a lot of places. It can be a very interesting thing. It'll help some places. It'll hurt others because you need to let people develop. Teams need to change year over year. You need, and for all that extra year a 23-year-old or 22-year-old 5th year guy can give you who's really seasoned, and that's great. If it takes away from, what Cam Ward becomes, is that helpful? As it takes away from, something else you have. Now, I think in Michigan State's case, Carson Cooper specifically at the 5 would still help them immensely. But yeah, these are good questions. I don't think anybody knows yet, and if anybody tells you they know, they don't. I think it might be decided in May. I said this the other day. I think it's short-sighted. I think it's great maybe for MSU basketball and some other schools next year overall. I think it's going to be a pain for high school kids. It's going to create fewer opportunities for them. I think 4 years is the right amount.
But if we could just get Coop back and then maybe not keep the rule after he comes
that's
back,
the thing.
you know,
Everybody,
like
I mean,
next year we can.
Right. This is the idea of this is die trying by fans. This is this is the sell your souls for 1 year. Just need one more natty, whatever it is. This is what that is. The overall rule itself, if you go to 5 years, I think creates problems, and I don't think it helps.
Lions reply guy, what are your thoughts on the Rams taking Ty Simpson? If the Lions were in that position, would you want them to take a quarterback that can sit for a year or two and learn from a Hall of Famer, or would you be pissed they didn't take an impact player while you're in Super Bowl window? I mean, I would be pissed about Ty Simpson for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I would have to trust Sean McVay as well because he's brought us success. He brought us a Super Bowl. And I can understand if you're that high. I don't know about who is that high other than Dan Orlovsky on Ty Simpson.
Here would be the reason. I think they're in a different spot than the Lions right now because, again, as you said, they've already won the Super Bowl. Their quarterback is older than the Lions quarterback, and Matthew Stafford's 38, I believe. And the thing I think, and McVay said something I saw today on the idea that what the system that Ryan Grubb runs at Alabama is similar in concepts to a lot of the stuff they do, so they got to really get a good evaluation of them. And I think one of the things they would like to do, because keep in mind, this is the second Super Bowl run window under Sean McVay, right? They had the Super Bowl, they won. They kind of had to retool, rebig. They had salary cap hell for a minute. Some guys retired. They're redoing it. I think they think they're still earlier in their window. So the fear that they have is if Matthew Stafford gets hurt or retires after this year, and everywhere else you're in the middle of your window and you don't have a quarterback. And so I think that's a little different, whereas the Lions – are just trying to get that first one. Goff, there's no sign that Goff's retiring in the next 3-4 years, right? So that it would be really dumb, I think, if you were the Lions. I can understand it from their perspective. They also
But if everything were similar, just the Lions were the Rams, we won a Super Bowl, blah, 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 I still would be a little angry at taking Ty Simpson at 13.
Yeah.
Although I know you have to move on at some point from Stafford, but I would also, like I said, trust McVay about Ty Simpson. So. Lions reply guy, I believe the Lions didn't take the quote-unquote best O-lineman. They wanted to take the most ready right tackle. Typically, they rank left tackle higher value due to the majority of quarterbacks being right-handed to protect the backside. I believe they wanted a natural right tackle with Sewell moving to left.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, that's right. I mean, that's what they wanted, right? I mean, yeah. It just seems like a reasonable pick, and it seems like a good pick. And
seems like a great one.
Yeah, doesn't mean there won't be somebody who was drafted after him that'll wind up being better. That always happens, but it just I don't know. It seems like for who was there and what they needed and what they wanted this.
And what did the teams want to trade up if there was another guy outside of Miller? Jake, if you could wave a magic wand and fix either NIL or the transfer portal for college sports, which would you choose? This is easy.
Okay, what is
NIL, by far. I just don't know what players are making. It's just everything is a free-for-all. I mean, if I had to pick one.
Yeah.
I don't mind the transfer portal. I want Coop to come back, let these guys play for 5 years. The NIL drives me crazy. I don't know what these guys are making.
So here
it annoys me.
The only reason I would probably go the other way is that I think in fixing the transfer portal, the way I would fix it, you would solve some of the NIL. Because what I would do is, again, I don't think it's a punishment to sit out a year. I would have certain situations. Maybe you could transfer once early in your career. You could transfer as a grad student, maybe. But if I was doing it, perfect world where you're looking at the betterment of if a coach left, you could leave, right? If there would be some stipulations where that could still work. But I would say you had to sit out a year because I don't think that's punishment in college. I don't. And I don't. That would be my way of doing it. And if you did that, it would change the money. It would change the calculation quite a bit. I would look at that pretty harshly and want that. But I think if you fix the portal, if you fix the movement, it changes the money, and that you get a little better handle on that. So that would be my reason to want to fix the portal.
Jake, do you think Izzo's heir apparent is already on staff and in waiting, i.e. Sadi or Borovich?
I don't know. My hunch would be no right now. I also
do you think it's been talked about though?
That's a good question. No, I would.
I don't even think
guess
it's been broached. Like,
I mean, if you're Jay Batt, you have to have a list, and you have to have an idea, and you should be evaluating guys. You should be evaluating everybody on Izzo's staff all the time. You should be evaluating other coaches around the country. The Jordan Otts out in Phoenix. We talk about that sort of the guy who's at VCU now, who was at was LIU Brooklyn before that. The Martelli Jr. Guys that I think are interesting young coaches in this time. And but you should also evaluate who's on staff and who would make sense and whether you think they would be great in this, because it obviously worked with Izzo. There are advantages to keeping continuity if you think somebody has sort of the gravitas to be that and do that position and the talent. But they've gone through so many of these guys, and he stuck around so long. And my guess is he does another 3-4 years, and so who's in that spot by then? Like Sadi, I think was interested in the Western Michigan job, right? He didn't get it. I think he would have been a good hire there. But like if something along those lines comes up again, he may not be around. And Borovich is a guy who's always intrigued me. And I think he's also very talented. But it's just hard to know. Will Batt still be the AD? Will Guskowitz still be the president? Will Izzo just outlast another athletic administration? I mean, who knows? And so I don't know.
Jake, who do you think won the chair fight, Mario and Pemba or Rod Allen? Oh, it's Rod.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Did you ever seen the video of him when he was playing over in Japan and they beamed him and he was like chasing the pitcher around? And I mean, dude, Rod, yeah, I love Mario, but
I don't know. I think Mario could be scrappy. I don't
know.
You
need to watch that video.
Yeah. They were, it took a long time. I mean, they were, I liked them a lot. They were a good team.
The Rod Allen drinking game.
Man, yeah. No, they were a good broadcast crew.
I couldn't find it. Chicago Spartan with Divine's departure, that leaves one more scholarship available. If the 5-year proposal doesn't pass for Cooper to come back, do you think that the final spot is filled with a transfer portal depth piece? And from David Jackson. With Divine, Graham, did you ever learn to spell his last name? Now, this is too long for you. Now you need not bother learning it, right? Exiting via the portal is the final spot on the roster being held for Cooper or Kohler.
Yeah, well, a couple things. One, I would be surprised. I mean, it's just so hard to recruit a depth piece. Like, that's a hard sales pitch. Think about that. We really want you as a depth piece. Now, you can find maybe somebody who's in the portal who runs out of options, but why are they on options, right? Why didn't anybody want them? Or somebody who's at a smaller school still in the portal who would love to just be at Michigan State for a year or something like that. So maybe that's, there still could be a way if you wanted a third point guard. But where else do you need help is the question. I mean, you're looking, Calipari talks about this all the time. You don't need as many players as they used to have. And when the transfer portal, you really can't have as many and keep people happy. Like if you look at the center spot now, and you look at the 4 spot, and you look at the wings and the 2 spot, like it's pretty jammed. I mean, you can, as long as there's no injuries, it's sort of all there. But I think I would, if Cooper is allowed another year of eligibility, and again, I need to get a sense on Kohler too, and where, what he thinks and what they're all thinking of this, and I'll start to do that next week. But
I mean, if there was a vote, if we put a poll up on Twitter, who would you could only have one player come back?
It would be
Cooper or Kohler.
It would be Cooper because
do you think it'd be a runaway though, like a 90% to 10%?
No, I think it'd be 75-25. But I think Cooper probably fits what they need, and with having, like, Kohler became an elite college rebounder. I mean, he put up numbers that at Michigan State have only been done by Xavier Tillman, Draymond Green, and Antonio Smith. Like, that's elite, right? And Cam Ward has that potential to be that elite type guy. The stretch stuff that and the post move stuff that, I think you'll get a little of that with Bonke, but it's all valuable. I'm not saying Kohler wouldn't have value. I'm not saying he wouldn't be fine, but like the roll, the rim roll dunks and all that stuff that they were great with Fears is really a Cooper specialty, and he can defend a little different type of player. I think Cooper would be, based on what I think they need, probably the better fit.
David, do MSU's walk-on Walton twins look good enough to earn a scholarship at the MAC level, or maybe a bit lower? with height and ability to shoot. Why not?
The MAC level may be a bit too much, but probably D2 guys. Yeah, and I think that's part of one of the things that Izzo sold them on initially when they were just going to be students. He thought they were good enough to help them on the scout team.
You don't think the Walton Bros can take over the MAC?
Yeah, you guys don't understand the MAC, I don't think. No, the MAC is the MAC is, this is
sorry, non-ball knower over here.
Yeah.
The MAC.
The MAC is not like
what the fuck is the MAC? What are you talking about? Was it like another?
This isn't the MAC out in East Lansing. This isn't the
These
MAC.
are the Walton Bros, though.
Yeah,
I mean they're twins and they can shoot.
I'm not saying they couldn't find a role in the MAC, but yeah, it's so earn a scholarship. I hope
they're listening. I would be offended by that if I were the Walton Bros. I'd get right to the gym.
And maybe there is a spot. Who knows? I could be
like
totally
this
wrong.
new dad assholes down here telling me I can't make it to the MAC. Give me the rock. Where's my brother at?
I'm telling you right now, if they were MAC level players, and they could, and the way they shoot, because they do shoot at a decent level, there would have been games last year where they found their way onto the court.
All right, David. I need to know: is the number 18 portal transfer center Anton Bonke really showing us what dying trying means, or is he just a taller version of Zapawa, and we're buying players on the cheap? He's a projected starter, right?
I would think, based on who's on the roster now, he would likely start. But if if McCullough has a heck of a summer, and or Ethan Taylor's ahead of where I think he is, that could change. The die trying question is fair, right? It's and somebody brought up the other day. I thought it was good that they wish Izzo instead had said, "I'm going to go broke trying." In terms of who you.
Do you think Izzo wishes he never said it? Period.
No, because it put a marker down, and he's met that marker largely. I mean, they had been a 13-loss team for a while. They'd been a bubble team that had been between like a 7 and an 11 seed for a number of years. And in the 2 years since, they finished first and second in an 18-team Big Ten. They've been to the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16. Like he's re-elevated the program. But yeah, I mean, certainly he laid a marker down that people are going to use as, hey, this is what you said, and are you doing it? They did go out and get somebody. They got somebody who I think is a really good player. Whether he's 18, I mean, I think he might be better than that. He might not be. I mean, who's ranking that? Joe Timpton or I don't know. How the fuck do they know? So I mean, because they're watching the same clips I am, right? They're and it's hard to see about how guys go up against different levels of competition and all that stuff, and how and fit can matter more than that. I think it was a really good get based on the circumstance and the situation. They needed to get somebody. They had lost out on a couple guys that I think they wanted, and this is a guy who can be a starting level center and a good one, and has a couple years as well. So it's interesting because certainly he will be only a year ahead of McCullough, and if you go to the idea that everybody could have 5 years soon, and like that means McCullough's redshirt year was unnecessary, and that's another thing that sucks for guys who are redshirted, right? Because you don't get that year back. Then those two are in the same class, but I don't think you can worry about that because we've talked about the idea that it would be unfair not just to McCullough but to the team at large not to go get a guy, not to make sure you're okay at that position because everything else has a chance to be really, really good. That position does not have to be the strength of your team, but it cannot be a weakness that prevents you from reaching your ceiling.
Rich Searing, who on this MSU team will be the stretch for? Caleb Glenn?
Yeah. I mean, Caleb Glenn. That's the idea. I think he's a wing four. He's a guy who would have been in the corner a lot more instead of Cohen Carr last year, and he's a guy who's they're hoping is a 38% 3-point shooter at Michigan State, and yeah, I think he is your stretch four now. Like I said, Bonke hit 34% of threes last year, shot at one a game. If Cooper were to come back, I think that would start to be part of his game. We saw that a little in the summer last year. We saw his we're talking a guy who went from like no jump shot to a jump shot. We saw him hitting the top of the key stuff. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else in that group develops that or has that. But yeah, I think Caleb Glenn would be it.
Could the Walton brothers play at Charlotte?
Charlotte or Charlotte?
Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
That Bonke just came from him. Just
Yeah, I don't think so.
No?
No, I mean, that's a really good league.
Rich Searing, why do I feel our football season is going to be disappointing again, even with the new energy and staff?
Well, because it's likely to be disappointing again. Even
Because
with
of
the new
Jonathan
regime.
Smith. We can blame it on him for this year.
There's just not a great deal of proven talent and difference makers there. And that's when you look at that roster, and there may be guys who turn out to be difference makers. And if they're good up front and they do look maybe bigger up front than they've been, when they solve that, everything else gets easier and more feasible, and you could wind up with 6-7 wins and have some really good days, and they might have enough. When I look at the roster, and they may be okay at running back, and I don't see the type of guys who can make up for not being good in the trenches. So that really comes down to that. Can they be good in the trenches? And at this point, we've just seen too much. We just need to see it. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you that
Only
I like
6 more months to go before the season starts.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in because it takes away, the ability to really get excited and hype because you just don't know what's there. There'll be a lot of intrigue.
You need to come up with an answer for when people ask about what the record's going to be. What we're going to be asked.
What do you think the record?
What
do you think it should be? What should we say?
I mean, I like the over 3.5. I'm just saying, but people don't want to hear that because that means 4 wins. So
yeah,
it's not really exciting.
Yeah, if
especially when it's probably like minus 115 or something.
Yeah, 4 wins. Yeah, because 3.5 I've seen is pretty well juiced. Where I've seen it available.
Oh, yeah, it's probably higher than that.
So it might get up to 4, and I if you get 4 even, I still think 4 even is probably not a bad bet to take the over on. They started getting a 4.5, I would just start to be a little bit careful. And if this is depressing you, one of the things I would highly recommend is a Groovy Donuts. Right, if you start talking about MSU football and you feel down about what they're going to be this year or their record or all those sort of things, Groovy Donuts they're just joy. They're just pure joy. That's what it is. Go to groovydonuts.com. Just improve your weekend. Elizabeth and I often take we take a box, we cut them up. We have like a little bit of 6 different donuts. It's the best way to do Groovy Donuts, and you can always get a little side bag yourself, and have it on the way home, and your spouse won't even know that you had a couple extra. It's the best way to go. Two locations, Lake Lansing Road and East Lansing, and also Williamson, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. I'm
47 years old, and side bag made me laugh. Steve, also a father of a 2-week-old girl, Graham. Do you have any remedies for hiccups? How to calm them during diaper changes or baths? Or any other tips? Congrats to you, Elizabeth and Cora.
So, by the way, Steve and Libby also had a child same day, right?
But why does he act like you're Drew Brees and like you've had like 7 kids? You're like a week ahead of him. Like, by the way, congrats, Steve. But like, congrats to you guys. But isn't that funny that he's asking you for tips?
Well, I mean, hold on one sec. I don't know. I think we're the same. We're the same day. Hold on. Let me double check something here real quick. Right. No.
Shake a tail feather. Oh no, I heard.
Yeah, no. They have little Molly Ann is their daughter's name. And April 11th, same day. So we're in the same trajectory, right? Same exact age.
So he's asking you for tips.
Yeah. So here's what I would say.
And you're going to give them?
Yes.
Okay. Even though you had a kid at the same time.
Correct.
All right.
Take advantage of the hiccups because like Cora, when she's having hiccups, which do not harm them. We've talked to pediatricians and other people. They do not harm them. There's just no way. And there are ways to get rid of them. Like we had somebody who works in the hospital that was it's like a head specialist thing. They like check their heads and all that stuff. And when she was hiccuping in the hospital, they can like touch their head certain ways, and they just I can't figure out how to do that. But the real trick to the hiccups is they don't harm them, and they go away. But right now, she can have no other emotions while she's dealing with hiccups. So use the hiccups to change the diaper. That's what I found. If she starts hiccuping and I think it's time for a diaper change, I change her diaper while she's hiccuping because she can't cry. She won't cry. She'll just sit there dealing with the hiccups, and I can change her diaper without her being upset.
Who is this person touching heads, though, and stopping the hiccups? You didn't ask a follow-up question of, like, how'd you do that?
It's
where's the part on the head?
It's called, hold on. Give me some Hoff. 1 second.
I got some lats for you.
Can't stop now, gotta continue.
If we're going to do this kid talk, I get lats.
We're going to party till the lights come on. And if my song stop, fuck it, because my mic's still on. Yo, I'm the big booty type, I like them thick with their mind right. Bang them personality, conversate when the time right. I'm not hard, I got women to handle that. They be like he the man when I'm really a Thundercat. Come on, you know the ticks connect like Voltron. Collect so much grass, people thinking
I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's osteopathic manipulative medicine. Madison, but OMM.
Sounds right.
Yeah, OMM over at MSU. They come in, they offer this service. McLaren, by the way. McLaren deserves all the ads they've been putting on the Lansing State Journal for a while because they were fantastic. Oh, their nurses and their doctors, their staff, just unbelievable. So that's it. But I would say no answer for the hiccups. Don't be afraid of them. They're going to go away, but use them to your advantage if that takes away her other emotions. Like, it's time to do the unpleasant thing because she will just be focused on the hiccups. This is what I found.
Now, live read diaper commercive.
There we go.
Just
That's
leave it right
Boom.
in, baby.
Yep.
Kurt Wisniewski, would Trey Holloman really transfer back to MSU? This makes no sense.
Yeah, I've heard some whisper. I ran into Trey Holloman not that long ago. We just chatted for a brief minute. This did not come up. But to me, there's not the need for him, right? Like a year ago, there was a need for Trey Holloman. And this is why teams have and rosters have to be able to move on. And the fifth-year thing is dangerous. Like, it is time. Like, guys develop and teams change, and it's healthy for teams to change. And I'm not
But if
saying,
there were a need, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Correct.
Right? Would fans care?
No, fans would welcome him back, especially if he came back and said, boy, I made a mistake. I really wish I'd been here.
And he has said that.
Yeah.
Kurt, will MSU football have a first-round draft pick in 2027? If so, who? Graham, congratulations on becoming a girl dad. It's one of life's greatest gifts.
I mean, I don't see it right now. Thank you, by the way, Kurt. I don't see it right now. Now, what you really want
I love when people say that.
You want it to be an offensive lineman, if it happens.
Oh.
Somebody on the offensive line.
I thought you were talking about your kid. I was like, wow.
Oh, no.
I thought we were still on that. Never
Sorry,
mind.
yeah, no, it is one of life's greatest gifts.
Is it?
It is. You're not for you. You're grateful that.
I mean, now when they're newborn, yeah, and then they grow up and they still love you. But when they get to like 10 or 11 or 12 and like realize what's going on and realize what they can do, that's when they're terrors.
Teenage angst. Yeah,
oh my God, they hate you.
Well,
they think everything you do is gay. It's like, what's the point of having this kid?
Well, it's not every
they think
kid,
you're ass.
Not every kid
unless you
falls
have
into
money
this.
and you're able to pay for their college. That's how they love you.
I mean,
but it's great now, I'm sure.
I do subscribe to the idea that there's nothing good to do with middle schoolers. They ought to be all just sent to like a work camp for a farm or something like that instead of school, and just figure out some skills and some.
It would teach them skills, yeah.
Get through the awkward years,
Sparty guy. Now that it's history, can you tell us really why Trey Holloman left?
Well, my understanding of the situation is it was opportunity, and I think there was a little more finances involved, but it was also he wanted to be the point guard. He wanted to be a place where it could be his team. He thought he had a year left. He wanted to go someplace where he thought he could run the show and try to get to the league, and it wasn't going to happen behind Jeremy Fears. He was always going to be second fiddle to Jeremy Fears at Michigan State. And, you and I might be able to see the bigger picture and say, man, you would have been starting at the 2. And keep in mind, when he left, the Jace Richardson decision had not been made yet. I'm not sure he knew that was going to go the way it did. And I think he wanted to be a starter, and he wanted to be the starting point guard. And, Will Wade is pretty good at convincing people of things. And look at NC State, where he's already left to go back to LSU. And he got conned a little bit. And that sucks. And I like Trey Holloman. I always liked Trey Holloman. He and I had some amazing conversations over the course of his career at Michigan State. And but I think he wanted better. I think he wanted to be the guy. And he didn't see that opportunity at Michigan State. He knew that Fears was going to be the guy they went with.
Gary Libka next. Can you come up with the audio of Coach K saying no? Yeah, hold on one second. Let me play it. No.
That's actually direct audio. Yeah, that's
no. Yeah.
That's good. It's one of your best.
Yeah. Trey Rice, you keep saying MSU is a Carson Cooper away from being able to win a title. You know who had a Cooper last year's team, and their ceiling was a Sweet 16. Duke and Florida will be a tier above everyone next year, and it might be 09 UNC level for Duke based on their roster.
Yeah, but this is a little short-sighted, Trey, because here's the thing. Every team changes and develops. Yes, last year's team did have Carson Cooper. Carson Cooper, who was significantly better than he was the year before, and the year before he was significantly better than the year before. He's going to be 22 years old all of next season. Looks like a guy who has another level to raise. It's going to be a very different Michigan State team. So, yes, while this year's team was, it did have Carson Cooper, and that was not enough. This year's team also didn't get where it needed to go, not because of Cooper or Kohler. This year's team didn't get where it wanted to go because at the two-guard position in terms of ball creator, a shot creation and ball handling and shooting didn't have enough. And next year, the deal with Josiah Jervis and bringing in Caleb Glenn and different guys like that, like the idea is they'll be in a better place at those positions. So if they have even last year's Cooper, that would be the difference. And if Cooper takes another step, which he very well might do, I think you're just looking at it as if teams stay the same, as if guys stay. This is not what happens in college basketball. The development is supposed to be a big part of this. Now, if you're signing roster year over year and there's no year over year to certain guys, then that doesn't happen as much. But and sure, Duke, Florida may be great. Who knows? Duke's coach may be the Bulls coach in a few weeks. Who knows what it all looks like? And you can absolutely have a super team that people can't get past. But I
think Shire's going to go to the Bulls.
I don't know.
Why would you want to do that?
Who knows? I'm just throwing shit in there. I just think Carson Cooper, the trajectory he was on, the way the rest of the roster looks, his chemistry with Fears would be ideal. And part of the reason people were nervous about not getting a center at Michigan State and or getting Carson Cooper back or whatever it might be is that the rest of the team looks like a team that has a shot. Whereas this year it was missing something else, something different. And so you don't want to be missing the center position now that you have the other components. That's why.
Matty B next. So Josiah Jervis could start over Kurt Tang, maybe even Jordan Scott. You say we shouldn't over-recruit in the portal. And what's the difference between that and recruiting a high school All-American who can potentially play over the other two? This is big boy basketball.
Because and maybe this will change over time, but there's always been this sort of long understanding that, you're the two guard in our class, and the idea is if you develop well enough or you're the point guard in our class, that somebody who's years below you, you'll have a chance to be better than them. And, that doesn't always work. Sometimes absolutely you get recruited over, and sometimes young guys develop and wind up being better than you, and that's been around forever. Kurt Tang, you can't – just because you have junior Kurt Tang doesn't mean you don't want to get the best freshman shooting guard you can. And the idea is their classes are separated and all that, and sometimes you get great players. And, it's a little different. When you recruit somebody out of the portal that's the same class, for example, as somebody that you already have, or blocks them as a senior when they're a junior or whatever, like you're saying you're replacing them. You're saying this didn't work. When you recruit somebody younger, it comes off different to them. This is the natural order of things. We're always recruiting. There's always a freshman class. Guys can live with that. They can understand that. If you get beat out by a freshman, that happens, and that's on you. It's just different, and I think that dynamic is, and maybe over time that'll be seen differently, but I think it still is.
Matty B genuinely asking, why does there need to be oversight in Spartan Ventures? If it's not taking money from the school, why does anyone need to know what players are making in NIL or what deals they have?
Well, the argument is that Spartan Ventures is overseeing MSU athletics, which is absolutely part of MSU. This is absolutely a component of MSU. Now, it may be a separate company, but who is running Spartan Ventures, who has voice there, the decisions that are made absolutely affect the university, and they are tied together. I understand the complaint about lack of oversight. Now, whether specific NIL deals should be public, that's an argument that I can see both sides of. I think how much I think how much money you're paying each sport out of your rev share should be very public. I think that's fair. But I also see the other side of this thing, because I've seen the complaints in the Detroit News, and Nolan Finley has been very upset about Spartan Ventures, despite having many other opinions about. Never mind. I'm not going to get into Nolan Finley's opinions, but like there are bigger things to be outraged about in this world that he doesn't give a fuck about, and yet Spartan Ventures is what he's concerned about. But you can't have everything in this world right now in college athletics. You have to at some point, if you want to play big boy ball and you haven't been able to do it at the level you want to do it, especially in football, you have to take some swings. And this is the creation of J-Bat. And you have to trust the people you've hired. And you don't have to do this. If you want transparency, if you want a different way, you can have it. But you can also have losing football maybe forever. Maybe there's another path. But you have to choose what you want. And there is some danger in anything without oversight, right? This is a public university. Athletics is still an extension of that university. It's the front porch of that university. It reflects on that university. You absolutely should, in an ideal world, have, complete oversight. But this isn't an ideal world. This is a world where, football programs are getting $30 and $40 million rosters coming from God knows where money, and most people aren't asking boo about that because they just want the teams to be good. So that we're in a different situation than is ideal, and this, in an unideal world, this seems like a way to maybe find a way to compete.
Maddie, other schools are clearly doing collectives still. Why is MSU just ignoring the average fan in 2026? It's like we'll be stuck in purgatory forever. We have to start getting serious.
Well, other schools aren't using the average fan to build collective money. That's not really how it's happening. And there aren't that many actual collectives around, because collectives will get beat up by, how they're doing things is through media rights partners and things like that. And there is flat out people going around this and ignoring it. And I think these are the questions that need to be asked. Like, it's not that if everybody's going to ignore the rule, that's fine. But if you're in my position or you're covering any team, you should be asking, how is this paid for? How the heck is this within the rules? They don't have to answer it. They can just say, hey, everybody's doing it. They can say, it is within the rules and give you some vague bullshit. But it should be asked, right? Because none of this stuff is within the rules. If Indiana football has a $35 million roster and 15 to 16 million is coming from the rev share and 20 million is coming in NIL deals, like, how is that really possible? 20 million in some level of legitimate endorsement contract? I don't know. That question should at least be asked everywhere right now.
John Johnson, Couch, how do you not get what Jason's point was regarding the players spinning with the bats videos at the MSU Spring Showcase? That shit looks fun when you're coming off 11-win seasons, but it's almost like some of these reporters sell their soul for 12 likes on Twitter. Harns knew exactly how that shit looked. I don't know if he did.
I don't either. And I didn't find it wasn't until I saw a couple of the responses, because naturally a rival is going to jump on this stuff. I mean, social media, that's the problem, is ultimately, it is what it is. People, when you're a losing football program right now and you do something that looks fun and a little goofy at a spring game that's supposed to be fun and a little goofy, people are going to shit on you. And you just got to get over it. It just doesn't matter. Nobody's not coming to Michigan State. Michigan State's not losing a game. What happened in that drill, which was meant to be fun and certain people would enjoy, doesn't matter if Wolverine boy Faucet Liquored 12 thinks you suck, like.
I'm just asking like guys like Harns to think about it. It's not, moving past it, but it's just the optics of it isn't great. It's all.
I understand.
You don't have to tweet fucking everything. Yeah. John Johnson, Couch, given what you said regarding the fifth year and the trickle down to mid-major for high school recruits, do you still stand by that idea that over time the dream will die for the lower tier? Maybe this changes how the dream is, where you now get higher rated high school guys for 1 year and make a run.
Yeah, there could be more opportunities there, right? But it's 1 year, and high school guys aren't. Those are leagues where still you need to get old most of the time. Older guys are still going to win, and the problem is what made being a mid-major fan fun, despite certain frustrations and limitations forever, was this idea that every once in a while you get a diamond in a rough. That you got a guy who had offers or interest here. You got a center or a point guard who was actually better than the big guys, and you could have him for a couple years. And that was part of it. You could build something. You could redshirt a guy and have him develop. Like, all that's gone. And so maybe people will be able to get their arms around and heads around something different. I just don't. Having a lot of friends who are mid-major fans, I don't know that it's ever going to get there. And I don't know that the next generation's ever going to become as attached as they were. And so I think that is the big question. We're going to take a really quick break. We come back. Many more of your groovy donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Rube, our Friday show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, and Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com.
Please like and subscribe to the Couch in the Rube YouTube channel. Also, download podcast episodes wherever you get your podcasts. For sponsorship opportunities, email Jason at couchandtherube.com.
Couch in the Rube, our Friday show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app, and Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. If you're looking for a place to watch the later rounds of the NFL draft when you don't want to really pay attention to every pick, but you just want to sit at a bar and have the draft on in the background and enjoy it, or watch some NBA playoffs this weekend, Front 43 and Cask & Company, 2 distinct places, 1 outstanding menu and drink selection, just near the East Lansing border on East Saginaw, just north of Frandor. Unbelievable place. You also have a private room at Cask & Company in Front 43. So if you want to sit by yourself or have a gathering, whatever it might be, go to caskandcompany.com, give them a call, ask to book the private room. You can get all the menu that they have there, which you'll love with the drinks and all that stuff, without other people, which can be great as well. All right, back to your Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
Ralph E., what a sweet name Cora is. Is she named after the character in The Last of the Mohicans?
She is not, though.
That would be awesome if that's the reason.
Yeah, that's a cool character. She is partly named after my wife's great-grandmother, who either died in childbirth or shortly after from, undercooked chicken. We're not sure on the story.
What?
I don't know the whole story. I don't want to get this wrong, but
that's quite a gap of what happened. What?
Yeah, well, I only hear this from my wife, so I don't know. Maybe
she died from childbirth or undercooked chicken.
She died within either a month, either from childbirth or shortly after, after having my wife's grandma. So I don't know if there has to be accurate information out there, and I'll look into this. I'll get a better answer on that.
You named your kid without knowing? I mean,
okay, so that is what she says is the main reason, but
you don't know the main reason.
I do know the main reason.
Undercooked chicken.
No. Well, the main reason she died. No, I'm talking about the main reason she was named Cora.
Okay.
The other reason is Elizabeth's favorite characters in a movie is the little girl Cora in Titanic, and so Elizabeth claims it's more her great grandma and just a little bit the girl in Titanic. I think it's reversed. But I'm not saying that.
Did you have any say whatsoever?
Yes, absolutely.
No, we talked about this.
No, we talked about this. We had a few names. I like Cora quite a bit. She had brought it up.
What was your pick?
I was on board on Cora.
No, but you did.
Well, if we have another kid, we do this. I don't want to give it out. You never know.
Guys are so secretive.
But so the scene. If you've seen Titanic, right?
Yeah.
You know the scene where they're dancing in the third deck and they're dancing like Irish music and. Jack is dancing with Rose and all that stuff. Anyway, it's a fun scene. there's this little girl in that scene, and there's a very sad outtakes. If you watch the extended cut version, I don't recommend it. It doesn't end well for Cora, but she looks upset because Jack's gonna dance with Rose, and he just looks at her and says, "You're still my best girl, Cora." And Cora smiles. And anyway, Elizabeth loves that character, so that's one of the places we got this. Yeah.
How long was that character in the movie, though?
She's in it a couple times. No, she's in there later.
You have to watch the extended cut, though.
No, she's in there a little more. You just don't see her fate the same way you do in the regular cut, which is not great.
Oh, man, you're the best. Ralph E., who actually negotiates the financial deals with the players in college basketball, hockey, and football. The same person or others? Doubt if it's the head coaches. Any insight?
It varies based on different programs in different places and where. I mean, there are things, like, so within the athletic department, you'll have people have those roles. You'll have people on staff at different places on the coaching staff, or the coaching staff might be a bit much, but general managers, so to speak. And then the head coach will have a fair bit of say as well, and might have a larger say depending on the place. So it varies different places. I think the best place, because ultimately the GM the coach is making all the decisions. It's not like pro sports or other pro sports, I should say, where the GM is in charge of the coach. The coach's program. But you do want some buffer. You want somebody who's also dealing with the agents regularly, who's doing all that stuff. And what's changed so quickly is, like, if you go 3 years ago, it was all players and parents in negotiations. 2 years ago, it was starting to be more agents. Now it's like all agents. And so it's much more professionalized.
K-Mark next. Graham, do you ever talk to your wife in a Fred Sanford voice? If my wife's name was Elizabeth, she would be so sick of it, I wouldn't be able to stop. Congrats to you both.
Appreciate it. I did not.
You big dummy. Do you do a Fred Sanford?
I don't. Maybe I should try.
Elizabeth, it's the big one. We used to work at Jimmy John's back in the day. Michigan fan Jordan and I with a guy named Shambe. He sounded just like Fred Sanford.
Oh, that's amazing.
We called him Big Dummy.
Underrated show. I don't actually properly rated show. It's a great show.
Yeah. K-Mark, if Divine Ugochukwu does transfer, how do you feel about the backup point guard position? Early thoughts on Anton Bonke. And how do we pronounce his last name?
Yeah, I think it's Bonke, but I have not done any research on it.
What if it's Bonke?
Bonke, yeah. If I were going to a new place as a transfer, I would change the pronunciation of my name.
Cockburn? Remember that?
Yeah.
Cockburn.
I know the cock silent.
Yeah.
Cockburn.
It's actually Coburn where he's from.
I'd be Cooch or something like that. Call me Cooch. I don't know. That sounds worse. Sorry.
You big dummy.
Take that out. Yeah. No, we've talked about this a little bit, but I think you're fine at the backup point guard position with Carlos Medlock Jr. I mean, he is
people
long
love
as people
Medlock.
As long as you're healthy. And the question is, who's your emergency guy there if somebody were to get hurt? And what does that look like? Is it Josiah Jarvis? What can somebody else handle? That is something by next year Jordan Scott could deal with a little bit. What does that position look like? And I think that is something that, because you're not going to have Divine Ugochukwu, you should plan a little bit this offseason. Like, what's your emergency point guard situation? And maybe there will be somebody they bring in a Denim Wojcik type role.
Does Wojcik have another kid?
Somebody who will be willing to do that and not need a lot of minutes, but be there as an emergency.
John Howard, when walking to teach my class this week, I saw Kurt Tang in a walking boot. Any news on his injury? What?
Yeah, John, this is the first I've heard of it. Liz
Frank can't even take a freaking summer off.
I'll say this. If you're going to have that sort of injury, and I don't know anything that's going on. It could be just, he could be like playing in a movie where he needs to have a limp or something like that, so he's wearing a walking boot for a film class. Who knows? It could be like Will Ferrell when he played.
What a spin. You should work for Vrabel and Rossini.
I think
holy hell.
Well, Will Ferrell, Melinda, right? He wanted to play every character with a limp. Anyway, sorry, that's a bad reference. I apologize. Good movie though. So at first I've heard of it. Again, I've not been on social media a ton this week and not been poking around a ton.
We missed your Pistons hot takes.
Yeah, sorry. If you're going to have that sort of injury that some of these have been, I'll say this is the best time of year after the season, and before you get to the summer. You don't want to lose the summer.
So you're off social media because you're watching your daughter, or like?
Yeah, it's amazing how much time she consumes. It really is remarkable. Like, if there was one time that I was like trying just to change the podcast I was listening to, and I had her with a bottle in my arms, and so I tried to rest the bottle, on my chest at the end of it, and it just it fell out. I almost dropped her head. I was like, okay, I can't. One thing at a time. Like, this is it. Like. Yeah, you got to focus on one thing at a time. Maybe I'll get better at multitasking. At this point, she's stronger than you think. Like 14 days old, or 13 days old, but she's still pretty delicate. Like, I can't be, it's not a time to like not be focused on what I should be doing.
All right, Keith Stupera next. I'm really curious to see how Izzo manages the roster this year. Really, only to have one true 4 with a bunch of wings.
So we were talking about Cam Ward as the 4. Yeah, I mean, that it is true. And then, but will they play 2 bigs together against certain matchups too? I think you're okay there. But it is a question. I mean, like last year, it was Kohler a true 4? I would say he was more of a 4 but there were elements of him defensively that were a 5. It is not something for me that I think will be a concern for them. I think Cam Ward will start. I think there will be a variety of different types of lineups based on the size and the matchups and all those sort of things. And when you have Cohen Carr and Caleb Glenn and Jordan Scott and Josiah Jervis and Kurt Tang, and you start to look at like minutes distribution, I think there will be a lot of minutes with Caleb Glenn at the 4, and I think you'll see some with Cohen Carr at the 4 too.
Mike Scott Graham is having a pregnant wife. The only secret you have successfully kept from us listeners since the show started? Well, everything's on the table. After you told the story about pushing the gay guy down the stairs.
Yeah, which didn't happen, right.
Which led to a death.
Which didn't happen.
We still unsolved murder.
He did die, but it was not.
No, I mean, so now after he admitted that, everything's on the table.
Yeah, I don't.
It's really refreshing. It's kind of a freeing feeling, I think, at least for you, I'm sure.
Yeah. Nothing that I can think of right now. I'm
Statute
sure
of limitations on a murder. It's what, 15 years? You're good.
We've been pretty open booky on this show. Like we've told, I mean, like you go back to your old days and 2009 Graham bets and things like that. Like it's not like, but part of it early on when we were doing 5 shows a week, 2 hours a day, part of it was just desperation to fill time. We would have told you anything just to get through the next segment.
That is true, but I still don't mind telling. As long as I just don't forget about it, or if it's brought up somehow, I don't care.
I mean, Santa Rube. I mean, this.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. Mike Scott, what happens if Cora's first boyfriend is a Tottenham fan? Assuming Steven Izzo tells his dad you have a daughter, what name will Tom mistakenly call her?
Cockburn.
Yeah, that'll be it right there. Yeah.
Whoops. I think Coral. He'll say Coral.
Yeah, you're probably right.
That's
a good one. Coral.
What if he was like, all of a sudden he was like, is that from the Titanic? The girl that was in the extended scene.
Would be amazing. If her first boyfriend's a Tottenham fan, we'll work through it.
God, I hope I live long enough to watch you raise a teenage daughter.
Yeah, we'll work through it together.
Damn.
Yeah.
God, please. Come on, let me live that long. Mark, now that your work is nearly done with respect to Tottenham, can you turn your sorcery upon Liverpool? We all know that they are at the absolute worst club and fan base in England and maybe the world.
Wow. My work is not done with Tottenham. I'd like to see them in League One. I'd like to see them continue to fall and see what that does to their fan base. But although I don't feel bad for Liverpool. I don't have the same feelings about Liverpool that I do Tottenham, and I can't. But
Soccer is boring.
Tottenham will be every other of there are only 6 clubs, I believe, in the Premier League that have never been relegated. And so, like, even what's happened to Leicester City, which is really awful. They've been they've screwed some things up going back 5-6 years in terms of how they paid players and what they did and all this stuff. And now they're being relegated again down to League One from the Championship. But even them, they had spent a lot of their history in the second tier of English soccer. Tottenham going down is a huge, huge deal. I mean, it's like, and it's part of the reason that it's hard to convince people to have relegation in this country in pro sports, because it's like, the New York Knicks going down, or whatever. It's like no pro team or owner wants what's about to happen at Tottenham, and it can really, yeah. But I'm going to keep my attention on Tottenham.
Skylar Verdon Graham, I've seen you and a lot of other people on this show claim once Tottenham gets relegated, it will be just pure soccer fans left in the Premier League. You are aware that American soccer culture is annoying hipster fans, right? That applies for all American fans of Premier League teams or any team in Europe, not just Tottenham.
It's not entirely that. There is still annoying hipster fans, but that's changed a lot. I mean, and I'm just that I think was more of who it was 10 years ago. But the Premier League is just so widespread. It's got such a good TV deal. It's so available. I don't think that's quite the case anymore. I'm not saying there aren't annoying as piss fake fans that are Americans or people trying. And like I said, I'm going to be a Coventry City fan next year. I'm going to be a guinea pig. We're going to find out whether deciding to be a fan is an actual thing that can happen. I'm going to get scarves. I'm going to watch the games. I'm not going to bet on them. I'm going to try to be an actual fan. And we'll see whether that...
You're not going to bet? You're going to raw dog?
I'm going to raw dog.
You're going to raw dog a sporting event?
Yeah.
Man. The Ernie Harwell of Southern Maine. Will you coach Cora in youth soccer? What position do you want her to play? She's a bone-crushing center back, isn't she? That's another thing I forgot about. You can actually coach kids soccer now. You have a child. It's not as creepy anymore.
It's not as creepy. It is nice.
Right.
I will only do it if
people will know you're coming. It's like, wow, that guy has a child now.
I don't really want to, but it was actually better to do it when you didn't have your own kid on the team because you didn't worry about it. There weren't.
Oh, dude, come on. That's crazy. You don't want to coach your kid and when she grows up.
I'll coach her in certain things. She has a tennis.
But not soccer, though?
Well, she has a tennis lesson on Tuesday. We're going to get into that quickly. But
dad jokes. Yeah. Oh, this show. Thomas Zambiasi, I had no clue Graham played ultimate frisbee in college. Did he prefer handling or cutting? Would he ever cover the college frisbee sectionals and regionals if the MSU basketball team and hockey team bow out of their tournaments early in the future? Also, major congratulations to you and Elizabeth on becoming parents.
So I was a better handling. I don't even know if I knew their proper terms, but I was a cutter more, and I enjoy it. Like, have you ever played ultimate frisbee?
No,
it's kind of fun. Like you played on.
I've been on one of their fields and thrown one or two, but I've never played it.
Like a football size, it's huge, and it's a fun sport to play. I played in a couple tournaments and enjoyed it, and I was never great, but it was the element of I could catch a frisbee a long way, which, by the way, more than anything else, like catching a frisbee coming like 70 yards at you, if you catch it wrong on your hand, it hurts like hell. That's one of the reasons
Hey, save the hot take for Monday.
Yeah, sorry.
Richard Kane, what are your thoughts about the Venetulis Institute for Local Journalism acquiring the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette?
Anything to keep it alive and get it out of shitty ownership. I wish this happened everywhere in newspapers. It's they're out of, I think they're out of Maryland. Let me double check that. But like, to me, it's a nonprofit. I think the nonprofit model is, it has its shortcomings here and there, but generally they're in it for the right reasons. It does create some limitations here and there. You might have to get a little leaner, but that's okay. You need to be right size this day in journalism, and I just want local ownership, nonprofits, people, because what's really bad for a community is not to have somebody covering you, not to have people holding public officials accountable, not to have people who have your back, not to have anybody who tells your stories. And there are a lot of news deserts increasingly in this world, and it sucks. It sucks for the community, and so I'm very glad to see that's happening in Pittsburgh.
Corey Ostrom next. Why am I thankful for Izzo and the way he runs his program and manages his rosters? Because MSU wins every year. Is it enough for the fan base? No. They will find out the hard way when he's gone. It is also extremely difficult to win a 68-team single elimination tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's enough for a lot of people. There are vocal people who aren't happy, and I think people just want him to maximize what he can do. I think that's it. I think a lot of people care. Now, there are frustrated people who, or there are people who don't really have a sense of the big picture or are unreasonable in their expectations. But a lot of people just see how close they are, and think it's within MSU's grasp, and that sometimes he gets in his own way. In terms of completing it. And I think that's what 90% of it is when you see frustration.
Next one from Corey. Has a faction of the MSU fan base become one of the more insufferable in college sports? The angst over the time it took the center to be added, the delusion that the better centers should have been insanely paid by MSU, the demand for more depth, but wanting kids to redshirt. Weird.
Well, here's a couple things, though. If college sports is going to be this non-transparent with everything, we were talking about earlier, Jason, you were talking about the frustrations with NIL. You don't know who's getting paid, where the money's come from, how it's working. Yeah. This is what you get. If you want to keep people in the dark, then you got to take the heat. You can not have transparency. You can make it difficult for people to understand why and what, and not explain how much money people cost to have them on contracts or to have them play for your team or whatever it might be, how much money you have available, what the process is. People are fans. They care about the team, and they're a little bit, this is being done, without sunlight on it. And this comes with that. So that would be my
But Corey, where are you seeing this fan base?
Well,
that is becoming insufferable. I understand, but we just it's a broken record conversation about it. Yeah. It's just Twitter. You see people on Twitter. Well, like, why are you following these people? Why do you care what they say? I don't really give a shit about what they say. But I also can agree that there's passion behind it where guys like me, I just want to see Izzo get his second natty, and I'm seeing what other teams are doing, and sometimes it feels so far away to win a natty. I understand it's very hard to do, but I would like to be up with the upper echelon of the, these other universities that are spending more money. So yeah, I want a big that's not from Charlotte. Either one. Or the MAC, or anything else, right? I mean, you just want to get the guy that's from Kansas or some of the big schools with a name attached to it that gets you excited about the season.
And some of this is everybody starts to understand how much these guys are getting paid moving forward. Some might be a little more willing to, I don't know, share is that the right word? But like if you look at Michigan State's roster, and let's say Jeremy Fears next year is making $3.5 million, okay? And let's say Cohen Carr is making 1.5, and let's say Bonke's making 1.5, and let's say, you start to do the math, it's a pretty expensive roster pretty quick. And some places that are replacing most of their roster get to that number. So there might not be as much money available. And Michigan State does not have infinite money. Now, they do have people who want this to go well, who they have donors who want Izzo to have what he needs. And they also have an AD that's trying to do some creative things, but also is trying to do something under, some level of legitimacy. And again, all these guys getting paid in an era with supposedly somewhat legitimate NIL and rev share in basketball, where basketball is only getting 3, 4, 5 million, maybe 6 tops out of the rev share, and everything else is coming elsewhere. I mean, those should be questions that are being asked everywhere, at Kansas, at Indiana, at Michigan State. How do you fund this roster? What's the mechanism to do it, and where does that come from? They don't have to answer it necessarily, but that should be asked, because none of this is really on the up and up based on what the rules are supposed to be.
Original Dark Mantonio, if Izzo never had ties to MSU but was at, say, Maryland, would Spartan fans still respect him for what he's done over the years, or be like others who diss him and say he's past his prime and now overrated for winning one title a long time ago? Or would they be indifferent because he's at Maryland?
I don't know if Izzo was at Maryland or Izzo somewhere else. You'd have a lot of
question.
Is there an Izzo comparison in college basketball elsewhere? I mean, the problem is that Izzo is kind of one of one at this stage. Guy who took a middling program, built it for 30 years, still there. It's hard to know how you'd feel. You can look at
look at the guys that are his age that are still around.
Yeah,
like Patino. I would not put Patino in Izzo's category of, being prideful of your roster. Like, Patino just didn't give a shit.
It's just different. Like, Mark Few, I guess, but he's in.
But I don't get the question. Like, if he was at Maryland, what
would you?
Would I still respect him? I mean, yeah, of course. I respect coaches like Tom Izzo.
Yeah,
like always guys that are like Tom Izzo. No matter if they're football coaches or whatever kind of coaches, if they have the mentality of Izzo, I usually tend to gravitate towards that coach.
I don't think Izzo's overrated. I don't. I mean, I think he's a legend who's done something that's almost impossible to do, and that's it
he's
really
a Hall
is.
of Famer.
Yeah.
While he's still coaching.
Yeah.
Original. How is it chosen which side of half court a team's bench will be on for a neutral site? Is that a coin flip too?
Sometimes it's been based on higher seed. That's often the way it is, especially at the Big Ten tournament and sometimes NCAA tournaments. But sometimes it doesn't make sense. I think this year I thought they were going to be on the other side based on where they were seated, and it wasn't. So maybe they get to choose based on that. Sometimes Is it based on their fans? It's a fair question because it often is based on the seed. If it's a neutral site regular season game, that's a good question. I don't know. I do not know.
Frank Vajner next. Blake Miller is a Dan Campbell type of player. Love the pick. I'm really sad Tony Dombrowski did not put a reaction video out. I was looking for it.
You okay? Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Someone check on Tony D. Frank, the Pistons' performance in Game 3, especially in the third quarter, was badly needed.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if they needed that run too. What was it, 30-5, 30-3, whatever it was.
He kept Cade in the whole game pretty much, even though they were up like 19-20.
They were not going to risk blowing that lead.
Yeah. Frank, congrats to Graham on becoming a daddy. Will Tom Izzo make a reference about Kurtang not being able to guard Cora Couch?
Oh, I love it. But here's the thing. Many of the other people covering the team have kids. Like, this is not this isn't some new frontier I'm pushing here.
But it's you having a child.
That's true.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
The idea that I would have a child makes it fascinating?
No,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a cool thing. I mean, we'll get over it. It's not like we're going to be having, I hope we don't do this kind of a show every freaking show now. It's fucking Kids Corner.
It's like September. Yeah. It's like, here we go. Yeah. It's, yeah. It would be, if he does it, I will laugh at the joke. I will chuckle. Yeah.
Richard Kane next. Congratulations to Elizabeth and Graham on the new baby and to Jason for not spilling the beans. I look forward to hearing the tales of being a 60-something-year-old dad to a teenage girl and glad you're prioritizing your daughter over some other person's cat. Is Cora's middle name Rube?
We talked about it. We did not go with Rube, but we talked about it. We certainly did.
Cora Rube Couch. It kind of flows. Scotty Green's El Camino Couch. Are you prepared for Cora's friends to ask at her graduation if you're her grandpa? God, let me live this long. Will you coach her soccer team? Will she be able to take advantage of the Lansing Promise?
All good questions. If they need a coach, I will step in. Will
you have plastic surgery to make yourself look younger as you get older a little bit?
Yeah, I'm going to keep trying to look young. I'm hoping she'll keep me young, young looking at least. And the Lansing Promise, who knows? I would love to keep her in Lansing schools all the way through, and a real, true Lansing Promise. We'll see what the district looks like in 5 years.
When I was in elementary school, there was a girl that did have like old ass parents, but it never. I don't know. We never really cared. But it was shocking to see because back in the 80s, obviously people aged way faster. Remember like some of the shows or the movies you see like Cocoon, like all those people were like 36 years old in those movies.
Well, Wilford Brimley, when he was in the show Our House in the 80s playing a grandfather,
right,
was 53. And he looked 80, and he never aged since then.
Yeah, so who knows how old, these people were probably in their 40s or something, but they just had
when you had young
life.
Parents too, right?
I did, 21 and 20 when they had me, so yeah. Mike Scott, 3 quick tips as a girl dad. Ours are 22 and 20. Number 1, whenever she wants to talk at any age, listen. You may zone out. You may not understand Cora's points about princesses or Disney shows or anything, but just listen when she wants to talk to dad. Say little until you need to. You will never regret it. And once she gets to be older, teens or college, she will feel comfortable coming back to talk to you about nearly anything but boys. And 2, there will be a point when Cora and Elizabeth will butt heads. A lot. Around when Cora is 13 through 18, give or take. Sounds like a long time. Always support Elizabeth, even if you think she is wrong. Mothers and daughters have a bond that often comes with chaos. And 3, get a handle on social media early. Defer to Elizabeth on makeup. Have fun. Oh, man,
good
it
advice.
Sounds like fun.
Good advice, Mike.
Sign me up for all of this fun.
Well, we're gonna try and give her a 90s childhood. We'll see how long that goes.
What does that mean?
Like no iPads as long as we can do. We don't want the all the shit that's messing with their attention spans. We want her reading books. We want her.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how
we might have to move to like some far place away off the grid or something.
That's the problem with having an old dad.
I mean, how long are you talking about doing that for? Because when she gets into like school, she sees her friends and goes over to their house and
we'll have to have those conversations.
You can't just let her have the iPad and just maybe like set some restrictions on it.
Well, not young. We don't want them. It's not good for them. All the research is it's not good for them to do the iPad.
I mean, my 6-year-old nephew, he won't eat until he has YouTube on. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, which it just sounds very healthy. I don't know.
don't see anything wrong with that, right? Ethan Charmella, with Sutan, Raymar, and Austin Thornton already on staff in some capacity, who would you like to see join next out of the former player group? And what are Darrell Summers and Matt Trannon up to nowadays?
I don't know on Summers and Trannon. I've talked to them over the years here and there for different things, but not.
Dude, I forgot about Trannon.
Yeah, Trannon was Trannon was boy, he was a fan favorite. Come off the football field and be kind of a I don't know, he was kind of a poor man's Cam Ward in certain ways.
Where are they now this summer?
Who would make a good coach to come onto that team? Cassius, right? You want the wisdom of Cassius Winston, the soft voice. Yeah, Cassius Winston.
Jay Riemenschneider, Jason, if the Lions were to uproot and say move to Oklahoma City and become the OKC Lions, same owners, players, coaches, and history, would you still root for them, or would you wait to see if Detroit started a new franchise? I think we've done this before, but yeah, I would not be a fan.
Yeah.
No, it would end my Detroit Lions fandom if they moved to OKC.
And I think that happens for most places that lose a franchise. If you talk to like Seattle Supersonics fans, right, Cleveland, right.
Especially when the Browns moved and then they win, 2 Super Bowls as the Ravens. And
yeah. No, it's a heartbreaking thing.
Yeah, no, I think I would be done with, I don't know. I want to say like I'm tough or something and say I would be done with the NFL, but I still love the NFL. But anyway, yeah, it would suck. Jay, so we can say the F word as much as we want and out loud as we want, but can't say the W word? Pretty sure it's just a bit that I'm not picking up, right?
Well, we don't want you saying the F word because you actually use the whole word here and I change it. We don't want you using the F word unreasonably amount.
F-U-C-K.
Yeah, but
it's like when you try to hide it around kids and you just spell it. No, it's a bit, Jay. Yeah.
It is a bit. Yeah. We're just trying to keep, I think the word.
He tried censoring Dominic and it backfired.
It did. It usually does.
It was like when Vrabel came out and said, this is laughable.
Exactly. Yeah.
How dare you guys make these accusations of us? We're just 6 years ago at a bar and at a casino and at a resort in Phoenix. How dare you? Dude, I am fascinated by that story, by the way. I can't get enough of this shit. And this asshole taking day 3 off the draft.
Did you see Pablo Torre has a new episode that dropped today? Pablo Torre finds out, and it's. I listened to part of it this morning. It is good on this, and
which is interesting because he does Le Batard stuff, and Le Batard and Diana, them trying to figure all of that out, which I can understand when you have a friend and a colleague that is doing something like that. Like, how do you talk about it without being,
Well, one of the best things that sort of came out of the Pablo thing today that I really hadn't thought of like this, and I think one of the things that we can help ourselves, and because I was complaining about, other insiders and the sort of the quid pro quo they have with people and the trades they make to get information and how sleazy that some of that is and unethical. Insiders aren't journalists. I think that's what we just start. You can be one and be a journalist, but if you're going to do that, there are certain principles you have to adhere to. For the most part, like Jay Glazer wouldn't even call himself a journalist, and they talk about that and the different things. He's organizing the drinking day for 28 head coaches. He's not a journalist. It's not what he. I think.
But he does get info first sometimes, and that's pretty much all you need those people for.
It's a different role. It's not
check it out.
Journalist.
This player went here.
Yep.
It's when they speculate and they give you all the other crap. It's just ignore that.
Yep. You're just not a journalist.
C-Dubs 91. Congrats on the new addition to your family, Graham. When are you hosting a show where we get to give you unsolicited parenting advice?
Sounds like July. Best things. We want it to be fun though. It can't. Some of these are good. For example, what we just got from Mike Scott. That's actually all really good advice. And
don't talk.
Yeah, don't tell the oatmeal story. She won't pay attention to you. But I also think if we could do it to the point that they were like funny little things you've learned, I think that would be a fun show to do in July or something.
C-Dubs 91, am I the only one who doesn't want this new Spartan Stadium district, especially if it's done by the Gillespie Group?
No, you're not alone. I think there are a lot of people who don't want campus torn up into a big commercial place. And
isn't that already happening though? Like
some of it. Well, yeah.
Or am I just that old where I remember going down to East Lansing and there wasn't skyscrapers?
But I'm talking about not just East Lansing. I'm talking about campus.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's going to change potentially. And a lot of people don't like it. I think you're not the only one. And it's not. I don't have I didn't go to school there, so I don't have this feeling from like walking to this dorm or what this felt like. I grew up around. I think MSU's got a beautiful campus. I think campus walks over there are incredible. I do worry about something becoming way over commercialized and ruining the campus. But I don't have the same, this is, I really don't want this fear that some people have, but you are definitely not alone.
Moneybag, how come every transfer Izzo's ever taken had Zoom calls and visits to multiple schools, but most of Dusty May's transfers through 3 years have committed days after entering with 0 visits taken? How has Trilly Donovan's Discord known guys are Michigan locks within minutes of them entering?
I don't know. That's a good. I don't have an answer for it.
Who's Trilly Donovan?
He's If do you follow Trilly Donovan on social media?
Obviously not. I just asked you who he was.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be wild if I did and I just asked you who he was?
Let me pull up his account real quick. Right. It is technical, but it's So he's like. So the thing about Trilly Donovan, he's part of the group that does a site that's really good, Basket Under Review, which is where I get a lot of information from. Like they do great breakdowns of like next year's mid-major opponents. I'll know part of what you learn about a roster, especially in the transfer portal era. They used to. I think he was part of the 3-man weave group. Anyway, I'm not answering the question very well because I suck at it. But he's he's a guy in the know, knows college hoops, and but I can't answer your question.
I think I know less about him.
I'm sorry. I think this. Yeah. Can you imagine me giving Cora advice someday or telling stories?
No, listen to Mike. Just don't talk. Max, congratulations on the new little one. I'm glad that your absence was for a joyous rather than sad event. I was worried that your past had finally caught up with you. Since April is more of a dead time than July for college sports, how about a suggestion for a July topic in April? It's clear that Michigan receives favorable treatment from the NCAA. Why not do a deep dive into why? It will probably be your most read column ever and could drive your show for a month.
It would do well. It's not really on because the type of feathers I would ruffle within my own company.
Well, you don't want to ruin the blue wall.
Yeah. Plus,
welcome to the blue wall.
It takes a long time to build that. You don't want to tear it down, right? Look, there are elements that are very true with that, and maybe at some point there's a way to tackle that would work. It's probably not somebody who works in the same company that's owned by the Freepin News. I'm just going to be blunt. Like I would, again.
Well, what's left?
MLive.
Oh,
MLive.
It's on MLive.
This is a great story for MLive. Yeah.
All right, Couch on Fire. I would outlaw long putters and those oven gloves for base runners. You two have any pet peeves?
Anything you hate?
Why do you hate the gloves for base runners? It just kind of saves their hands, I guess. I don't know. It gives you more confidence running in. About just sports, huh? I got to say, something that I really enjoy is the new ABS system, though, for baseball. It's just a bummer that we're just not going to have any baseball next year.
Yeah,
because I think it's one of the better things that baseball's done. Games are better. It's fun for those reviews.
You think for real they won't have baseball next year? You think that's
right? They're going to strike, I think.
Yeah, I do too. I just don't know if they'll miss the season.
I would hope not. It's not. Yeah,
I think you're going to miss the off season though for sure.
Couch on Fire. The Tigers go 85-77. Your predictions. And congratulations, Graham. Of course, when she's a teenager, she'll become a Republican supporter just to irk you.
She can be whatever she wants as long as she's curious and well read and kind to people. Then
she's gonna be voting for Barron Trump.
She can be whatever she wants.
Oh shit!
I need the Tigers to win 87. They can do anything else. They need to win 87. I'd like them to win the division too.
How about Torque yesterday?
That was nice.
You know what? We give Torque shit.
Yep.
Now he's gonna go on a slump for 30 games.
Was it 2 straight days with a home run too? That's a good sign.
I tell you, I love it. Yep. Kerr Putang next. I thought you were not having kids, Graham. Do you not love us anymore? Is this what that is? Trying to slowly remove yourself? We'll find you.
No, we're it certainly makes life different, but
you were never anti-kids because Craig Robinson messaged me and he was saying the same. He's like, I thought you and Graham were just anti-kids.
No.
And I think it was me being so anti-kid that you probably lumped Graham in. I knew you guys wanted kids.
Yeah. We were never. We always planned to have kids, and we probably would have done it. Yeah. We always plan to have. Kids.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
Jake Hoggins, if you pick just one of these futures for Cora, which would it be? Very athletic and good at any sport. She'll earn a full ride scholarship to any college of her choice. Or very good at performing arts like singing and acting. She earns the lead role in any play like Les Miserables. Les Miserables.
I don't really either track. If she was an athlete or in arts,
you have to have one.
I mean, I would love her to be in plays, musicals.
Okay.
But the other stuff, whatever the only thing I don't want her to do is get into like swimming competitively. Because that, like, I know lots of friends whose kids have done this.
Pat 40 just showed up. He's going to come in here and yell at you.
But you sit there and you're like, it's like a 4-hour meet to see your kid do one event, and it's hot as hell in there. And like,
I hate to break it to you, whatever she plays, like if she gets really involved in any of those sports, though, right?
Yeah, but some sports I don't mind watching, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
Swimming, it's like, oh my God, I got to sit through like a million other kids in this hot
valid.
pool for, like, if she plays soccer, I love sitting there and watching soccer. I can deal with that at any level.
Yeah, but what about the plays and everything in school where you have to sit? She's at the end. You have to sit through 3 hours of other kids.
Yeah, but if she gets really into the other stuff, she'll have. He says lead role. I would take that or a bigger role.
Jake Hawkins, how relieved should MSU fans be that Anton Bonke picked Michigan State? Indiana picked up 2 players that were also MSU targets. Do you think Indiana padlocked both guys during their visit and wouldn't take no for an answer?
I don't think that's how it worked, but I think financially they came with numbers that they weren't getting other places. I think they overpaid a little bit.
You don't think they padlocked both guys during their visit?
Yeah.
No.
No, I think it's but no, relieved is an okay word though. I mean, it's because I do think when you look at who else was left on the market, that Bonke was a guy that of guys who I think can start in the Big Ten and fit what they want to do. I don't know that there were a lot left. I think getting him was a good pickup.
Next one from the Hawk. Thoughts about Pat Fitzgerald putting how many days there are in between the start of the football season and the football game against Michigan?
It's fine. I mean, one of the things that people wanted from Fitzgerald is the contrast from Jonathan Smith, and part of that was an understanding of the Michigan game and what it means and how it burns in the soul of Michigan State fans. And so when you do these things like, I think that stuff's okay. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't. But the big thing is how you respond to it when you get there and things happen. How you play in that game, how you perform, if you win or lose. I mean, because, Mel Tucker even had great success in that game. And then if things go wrong, how you respond, how you speak about it, how, that sort of thing. I think that stuff is stuff that we really realized mattered and matters to sort of the soul of the Michigan State football community.
Next one from the Hawk. How were you and Elizabeth able to keep a tight lid on the pregnancy? And how did you come up with the name Cora?
Well, like I said, it was her great-grandma.
Her grandma died of she ate a bad piece of chicken and died on a toilet like Elvis.
Or it was in childbirth. One of the two.
Yeah,
and
one of those.
One of those, and then Cora from the movie Titanic. And then we kept we did, we wanted to make sure everything was going well, so we kept a lid on it a lot longer. There were some people who knew somewhat early. We kept a lid on it a lot longer than you might think. And part of it was Elizabeth, like even with her coworkers and stuff, she could, with certain outfits, she could hide it pretty well for quite a while, and that was our.
You don't think they said anything behind her back?
Probably, but yeah.
Good Lord, she's trying to get as fat as her husband. What's happening here? Jerk guy. Hats. Your sense of weather. What?
I don't know. Your sense.
Dude,
of,
you're just killing me with
what?
that one.
What? Oh, it should be what's. I think what's.
Wow. What's your sense of whether Spartan football will get the over on wins this year?
Like 3.5, I think they should. I mean, if they beat Toledo and Eastern Michigan, and I think Toledo's going through a little bit of transition. If they beat Toledo and Eastern Michigan, that's 2. They got to find 2 other wins. And when you look at their schedule, there are a lot of other teams that even if they're not great, are even if Michigan State's not that good, they're going to be 50-50 games. They're going to be games they have a chance. And I just think the idea they don't get to 4 wins seems pretty low. I mean, keep in mind through all the disasters that MSU football has had. Right, it's just that 1 3-9 season with D'Antonio is the only time they haven't gotten to 3. So I mean, haven't gotten to 4 rather. So I think they get the over, at least in terms of that.
Jerk guy, how much have you already planned out your daughter's future?
Well, she's going to cut the lawn tomorrow, so just day by day, really at this point.
Dad humor. Oh man, it's gonna be great. Jerk guy, if I spill jelly from my groovy donut onto my muskox flannel, what is the best way to clean it?
It's the great thing about a muskox flannel is it's durable. I always have a little bit of spray for clothes that we get, stains on and things like that. But stuff comes right off. wash it in the washer.
You scoop that right up with your finger. Dude.
Yeah, and then, well, that's true. I usually
pop that back in.
I lick it off the funnel. Yeah, for sure.
And finally, from the Jerk Guy, hasn't the show gone on long enough?
We talking 8 years or we talking today? You can argue either way.
Both are valid.
We appreciate all of you sticking with us and producing our show for us and all that good stuff. We, of course, appreciate our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Casino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today or head on down to Dacey's Tap Room, I-94 in Battle Creek, and enjoy the in-house sportsbook experience. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. Improve your weekend. I'm telling you right now, your weekend gets better. You're going to a graduation or anything like that, bring Groovy Donuts. People will be grateful you showed up. They'll remember you showed up. Go to groovydonuts.com. Place your order today. And, of course, we thank Front 43 and Neighborhood Pub and Cask and Company Kitchen and Bar, the OG of Couch and the Roof sponsors. Great place to hang this weekend, watch games, date night, lunch, whatever it might be. We'll be back on Monday. Good show, man.
Hey, man.
Couch and the Roof.